My name is Kathleen Monterosso, and this is my interview for the Principal Preparation Portfolio piece. Okay, first question. Tell us why you are interested in becoming a school principal. Well, I have to take it back to the reason why I became a teacher and a coach. And it is actually summed up in a quote that I do keep behind my desk as a constant reminder for the last 12 years of my teaching career and the last 16 of my coaching career. And it reads, "Be the teacher and coach you needed when they, my students and athletes, were your age." I truly feel that I can apply that mindset to being a principal or an athletic director. I'm kind of looking into both of those avenues, as my emphasis would be the importance of positive servant leadership, mentorship, compassion, and accountability. Based on my experience, I now feel that it is truly my time to pass on what I have learned and everything that I have gone through to the next generation of teachers and coaches. Previous administrators that I've worked with have held very high standards of accountability with their staffs, and I've had the pleasure of being able to obviously work on those and under those administrators, and that is something that has always has stuck with me and drives me to keep challenging myself, to keep learning, just be the best teacher and coach that I possibly can be. In essence, shifting into an administrative role, I now need to be the type of administrator that I needed when I was first starting out as a teacher and a coach, and continue to be for our veteran teachers and veteran coaches. I touched on being a mentor and servant leader, which is for me going to be a huge piece being an administrator in whatever role I decide to jump into. And it has been embedded into my personal and my professional life. I gained that through my undergraduate experience at St. Louis University, where there we are taught a simple quote: higher purpose, greater good. That we are put on this earth to serve a higher purpose and to be servant leaders inside of our community. And in turn, we are helping the greater good of not only the present community, but for future generations that are encompassing in that community and the greater communities that we do serve. That is what being a principal, or again an athletic director, is. We are serving obviously the school community and then the greater community, depending on how big your school district is. Not just for the here and now, but for the future generations of teacher, staffs, and students and parents that do walk through your doors. We are laying the framework on how to empower our teachers, our staff, and our coaches to take charge in their professional careers, to keep growing, to keep becoming masters of their content and their craft. And as I've said before, I would like to emulate a lot of the amazing mentor teachers, coaches, and administrators that I've had the pleasure of working with and under, and help me grow professionally in my career and in my personal life. And now, like I've said before, it's my time to give back to this profession. All right, next question. Tell us what strategies you would use to eliminate achievement gaps that may exist between socioeconomic groups and or children of ethnic diversity. First, I would work to have and be able to provide equitable resources and high quality teachers. This is having up-to-date textbooks, technology, extracurricular programs that are comparable to the surrounding school districts that the school that I would be working at would be obviously part of. Um, Looking into educational technology programs like Apple, Dell, HP. Could we start a partnership with our school so our students are able to have access to technology not only at school, but then they're also to bring these devices home? Working with our local cable companies, the local libraries, the YMCA's, can these areas and these avenues be able to offer more internet access to students after school, and offer places that our students can go after school to complete their homework and obviously have that Wi-Fi access if they don't have that at home? The quality of the teachers and staff, not only do they have to be highly qualified, but we have to see from a personality perspective that they are passionate about their professions, and specifically the type of impact that they want to have on their students. These teachers, they have to have access, obviously, to professional development that's going to be able to enhance their skills. And is there ways that we can allocate funds so salaries could be comparable or even better than the surrounding school districts, so to entice and pull more of these highly qualified and highly skilled teachers to our school. Uh, we again, professional development would be a huge focus on ensuring that their personal and their professional goals are aligning with those professional development opportunities. Obviously, we need to be using best practices and best techniques that are going to help our students. From a allocation of funds, we could potentially be using fundraisers or applying for grants to ensure that we have these extra funds to again provide our teachers with what they need and provide our students with all of the up to date and the equitable resources. Another aspect of this I would be looking into would be early childhood intervention programs and small group interventions. So programs like Head Start, where this is like a preschool and kindergarten student focused program where they are going to be receiving one-on-one interventions to help with reading, writing, math skills, any of those basic skill components that students are going to need, obviously, as they carry through their educational careers. This can be done before or after school, and you're also going to be coordinating with your classroom teachers to identify those at risk preschoolers and kindergartners. I personally actually was privileged enough to be able to work with a Head Start program in college in my undergraduate time at St. Louis University, where I worked with inner city preschoolers for 2 years in St. Louis, Missouri. Seeing the students, I worked with 3 different students throughout that time, and just seeing their progress from when I first had them to the end of the school year truly was well worth it, both academically and socially and emotionally as well. Parent communication was always key, and this was something of a skill set that I started to develop and learn very early on the appropriate ways, obviously, to be communicating with parents and classroom teachers and how we can collaborate and work together as a united front. When it comes to small group intervention programs, we need to ensure that our students have access to special education services as well. These are students who have specific academic or health needs and accommodations that ensuring that they are being met, whether a student has a 504 or an IEP plan. Students will also have assigned what we call case managers to help with the IEP and the 504 process. And then general education teachers would then be coordinating with the case managers, and as well, potentially, if you are teaching in a co-taught class, but that co-teacher might not be a case manager of that particular or a group of particular students that you have in your class. But regardless, co-teacher or case manager, they would be working with the general education teachers and the special education administrators to ensure that all obviously accommodations are being followed. And there's those accommodations as well as the differentiated instruction that the general education teachers are using, and again, collaborating with our case managers and special education teachers. Another aspect I would be obviously looking into as well is culturally responsive teaching, ensuring that that is embedded into the curriculum and even the culture of the school. The curriculum should be constructed and designed around the student, teacher, and staff populations, so that everyone can see themselves, quote unquote, inside of the curriculum and obviously what is being taught. This can be achieved through multiple different types of perspectives, through novel studies, interviews, documentaries, primary source documents, and cultural clubs and organizations that are run by the students. This is a great way to be able to attract a more diverse staff so that students and parents, again, can see leaders from their personal culture and their personal backgrounds inside the school, and obviously are also being represented as well. Actually, we do have something very similar at Plainfield North currently where I work. We have something called a cultural competency committee. They will meet with our staff and they do lead professional developments throughout the year, where they lead our staff through different aspects, different cultural aspects. So this would be something that I would also like to bring into my school and create a cultural competency committee. This group, again, I would be working with personally, with with this small group of teachers where they are constructing, like I've said before, professional development on culturally responsive teaching and anti-biased teaching practices. So these teachers are then going to be able to showcase their expertise on how to better serve the diversity of our school community. Some of these activities can include how to better serve our ELL and ESL student populations, or having our ELL and ESL teachers present and speak about accommodations that can be provided to students in our own classrooms, as well as different elements that we can be providing to our parents who are ESL or ELL as well. Another aspect or topic that might be talked about as well in some of these professional developments is how might our implicit biases potentially impact our relationship with our students, and how to combat those implicit biases and those microaggressions that, again, they're implicit. We might not see them happen, or they might be kind of in subconsciously happening. I would then like to encourage the members of our staff and students and parents to form from other cultures to come in, and how can we incorporate those different aspects of their culture, let's say, into our student handbook, for example. Allowing students from different cultures to be able to express themselves through head coverings or dress, hair grooming practices. Another aspect to look at with this would be behaviors, right? We know some of our students are going to be coming in with different types of trauma and different types of experiences. So how can we focus on behaviors in a positive way through, let's say, something that we have at Plainfield North called a catalyst program or a reintegration program for students whose traumas at home are then impacting their behaviors at school, which is then impacting their academics. So it's a restructure, it's a regrowth. How can we get these students to understand why they did what they did, why it was unacceptable of what they did, and how these students can grow and learn these coping skills and coping strategies, and then obviously not be going through in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, and missing that academic time, obviously, that they're going to need for their academics, because we don't want them to fall behind because of those behaviors and things that they're going through that might be out of their control. Fourth aspect of this, I would be prioritizing family and community engagement by working to foster a very strong school to family partnership, where I've touched on this before, where the families can work with staff and can come in and actively are involved in their child's education. For example, bilingual family workshops, curriculum nights that focus on cultural inclusion by having our ESL and our ELL teachers and coordinators presenting the programs that their students are going to be part of or can be part of based on their culture, or students that are ELL and ESL running through the different tests that they will be taking to lay out where their potential strengths and deficiencies are, when, if we do have a student that is English as a second language, and how teachers are going to be incorporating those strengths and deficiencies into the classroom, and how their parents can obviously be helping them at home as well. Parents that do speak a different language must have access to digital resources and materials that are in their home language as well as English. And is there any new initiatives that the district could be looking into based on a cultural perspective? And like I said before, basically just allowing all of the stakeholders to be part of that process. All right, next question. Envision an ideal school: preschool, elementary, middle school, secondary. Tell us 3 characteristics that would be evident in that setting, and what are some structures or strategies that would need to be in place for these ideal school characteristics to evolve. For me, I'm going to be talking about a high school setting. So the first thing that would be in my ideal high school setting would be the teaching of the whole individual, where education needs to go beyond the textbook. It needs to focus on developing our students morally, emotionally, socially, alongside our academics. So this means integrating mental health resources, character education, and ethical decision-making into the curriculum. Counselors and teachers are going to have to work together to support students' well-being, and obviously helping them navigate the personal and academic challenges while instilling strong values and a sense of responsibility. So we know this as teachers. Oftentimes I'm flipping hats throughout the day. I might have to jump in as a parent. I might have to step in on a moral or an ethical situation or a dilemma with a student, and you do have to walk them through a lot of times these different situations that they're going to be in. You know, you've got peer pressure, you've got hormone development, and everything like that. So um, it's just being there and walking your kids through those different scenarios. So teaching of the whole individual is also going to have a couple different components like integrated mental health and support services, as well as our SEL programs. So the school is going to need to provide easy access to our counselors, our mental health workshops, mindfulness programs that are organized by potential outside school counselors or an outside organizations as well. Students must have regular check-ins with counselors where students can receive help to manage their stress, build resilience, and develop coping strategies. We can also do things where we provide a dedicated quote unquote wellness space on campus, that it's a quiet area for students to potentially decompress and recharge for those that really do need it. SEL would be embedded into everyday learning. So teaching our students about their self-awareness, how to regulate emotions, and teacher to student relationship building is going to be huge. Teachers also are going to have to receive specific training and professional development on trauma informed teaching practices so we can better support our kids. There ways that we can incorporate different creative outlets for our students through potentially journaling, art projects, music. You know, all in all, teachers should be first and foremost just focusing on our students. They need to be building those positive relationships at the beginning of the year. Not only the beginning of the year, they should be keep fostering that, those relationships, those positive relationships, providing an environment when they walk into their room every day that you're safe here, you are supported, and you are loved here. So that is going to be huge, because our kids need to feel safe every day that they come into the school, and safe and welcomed into every classroom that they're in. Another aspect of the teaching the whole individual is also character and ethical education. So classes and workshops that do focus on ethics, different type of leadership opportunities, decision making is going to be obviously part of the curriculum, and where students can potentially do things like service learning projects, getting out into the community, getting involved into the community is going to be encouraged. Um, we could Another thing I wanted to look into would be some school-wide initiatives that are led by our school community members. We have service-based clubs at Plainfield North where our students do get to get into the community doing different service-based projects. And it is really nice to see the kids getting involved in the community and not just specifically with their academics. We also have something called the Student Ambassador Program, where our high schoolers do go out into the middle schools and they do speak with the middle schoolers on what it means to be a high school student, and how your roles and things that you think is okay in middle school are not going to be okay, to do in high school, and how to just get involved in high school and be a more well-rounded student when you're here. Peer mentoring clubs and organizations is going to be something that I would also look into as well. Classes that students can take that can have this ethical education embedded could be, for example, a rhetoric English class. Students are deciphering different types of ethical dilemmas in class. They're writing, they're debating about them. You could also offer some different applied courses where students are looking at the ethics across multiple avenues like business, the environment, and technology. So if they do want to get involved in any type of those avenues, obviously there is an ethical piece that's going to be involved in those different areas of the real world, and how are they going to navigate that, potentially working for a company, and if they see something like that inside the company, what should they do? The second aspect of the ideal high school that I would be describing is a student driven learning and career preparation. So I would like to see my students having a greater voice in shaping their personal education pathways. This is choosing courses that are going to align with their interests and their future goals, providing opportunities for project-based learning, internships, early college credit programs that allow our kids to explore the field of study before they graduate high school. Get a taste of what it's going to be like, and maybe this might be a shift in their decision making on where they're going to go to school, or shifting their major entirely. We want to provide them things like flexible course options. And like I said before, students can tailor their high school experience to match their different types of ambitions that they have, making their learning, in reality, it's going to be more meaningful and it's going to be more engaging with our students. So I said personalized pathways. So students could potentially choose specialized tracks based on their interests. So let's say they want to get into STEM or humanities, business, or the arts. They have specific pathways and courses that have been chosen and they can sign up for to hit those. So, for example, if a student is interested in engineering, they can take an advanced math or physics course. While if you really want to get into writing, let's say you want to be a journalist, you want to work for a newspaper, you could dive deeper into that creative writing piece, taking a creative writing class or a journalism elective. Someone who, let's say, wants to get into the video game industry and they want to take a course on coding or video game coding or the art that goes into the overlay of the technology and coding piece of it. At North, actually, we do have a couple programs like that called coding for video games. We do have an entrepreneurship program. Another thing in particular that we do have, and I work with a lot of these students with the class, is entering the teaching profession. So we do have students that are interested in becoming teachers, and we are partnered with JJC, and it's for current seniors. They have an opportunity to take 2 courses that are geared towards their interest in being a teacher. The students are able then to come in during different teachers' class periods and obviously observe. I do get interviewed as well by some of these students. I've gone in and I've spoken with some of these students as well. And it just gives the kids an opportunity to really dive deep into what it does mean to be a teacher. It's a little bit different just watching your teachers, sitting in the classroom, but when they actually get to come in, watch how we teach, and then I get to break that entire lesson down with them, it is interesting to see their perspective kind of shift as we're having these really good discussions on what teaching actually is, and how detailed we actually have to be. Another aspect is these personalization piece, having that internship and work-based learning experiences. So the schools could partner with local businesses, hospitals, tech companies, just for example, media organizations, and providing our students with those hands-on internships. So a student that's interested in healthcare could potentially go intern at the local hospital, and potentially a future entrepreneur could then go shadow and work with a local business owner. So they're going to gain that real world experience on how and what it takes to run your own company or business. And lastly, providing opportunities for that dual enrollment and college credit programs while they're in high school. So high school students, obviously, we do have advanced placement or AP where they do take an exam. And depending on how they do on the exam, that is how they're going to gain college credit. Other things that I would be looking into, we do offer a couple of these things at Plainfield North where I work. It's called dual credit opportunities. So again, it's not AP. They're not taking the AP test, but we're partnered with JJC and a couple other local junior colleges where they will be receiving college credit for taking and obviously passing the course, but there isn't the AP test that's attached to it. That's a requirement as an AP class. So again, kind of circling back to that, we want to be able to just to provide our students that if there are students that do want to get ahead, get going with some of their college degree credits and getting some of those out of the way, they can get that done a lot earlier, maybe shorten their time in school, as well as hopefully then saving them money in the long run, because we do know how expensive college is. The last aspect of the ideal high school for me would be diversity across all levels. So our school would then be able to celebrate diversity in every aspect. So ensuring that representation is obviously in the faculty, the curriculum, our extracurriculars, in our handbook. Having a culturally inclusive curriculum, students are then exposed to the different perspectives, histories, and voices literally across the world. Clubs, events, and student organizations would reflect a wide range of interests and backgrounds, and our students would just be placed in an environment where they feel valued and they feel included and they feel heard. Hiring diverse educators is also going to ensure that students see their role models reflecting in their own personal experience. seeing their personal identities in leadership positions again is going to be huge. I mean, you can even take it as I'm the head varsity girls soccer coach at Plainfield North as well. My coaching profession is heavily dominated by males. We do not see a lot of females in these leadership positions. So being able to coach young women, and they see a woman in a leadership position is only going to help foster that identity and help with their confidence, help with their self-worth is the other piece and the other part of my job. Inside that diversity across all levels, inclusive curriculum. I've touched on this before. Obviously, incorporate those diverse perspectives in all subjects, ensuring that history, literature, and social studies courses are going to highlight all contributions from various cultures, races, genders, backgrounds. For example, let's say an English class might study authors from different ethnic backgrounds, while a history class is going to explore different global perspectives rather than just focusing on Western narratives alone. I've said this before, need to have the diverse faculty and staff in these leadership positions, allow that diversity to open up for different mentorship programs for our potential juniors and seniors in these different leadership positions, because maybe they want to get into a similar leadership position, and student clubs and organizations that are going to reflect all the different interests of our students, of our student body. So student-led clubs like Black Student Union, LGBTQ plus Alliance, Latin Club, Asian American Heritage Club. You could also throw in there, you have students that like Dungeons and Dragons. You have students that want to study philosophy and robotics. Just giving you a couple examples of things that we have at Plainfield North, those types of clubs. So different kids from different cultures, different interests, different backgrounds are going to be able to have opportunities to get involved in school, not just with sports or choir or band. They have other outlets and they have other avenues to get involved at school. All right, next question. You have already described some of your leadership experiences. Where do you still need to improve in leadership? The first thing that I would talk about would be taking more time to reflect on a problem before speaking and acting on it. So taking a step back first and foremost to ensure that I have listened to all of the information before I respond to whatever situation that is going to, or that has arisen, and then obviously make a well-informed decision. Basically, I respond versus react. Asking for input on situations to ensure that I see all sides. Has there been anyone that's been in a similar leadership position or gone through a similar situation, and how did they deal with it? How did they respond? And what was the outcome? Maybe I'm missing something of a potential outcome, or I'm not 100% seeing a third side or a third area in this particular situation. So asking other leaders. That another thing would be that it is okay to not have all of the answers, that it's okay to ask for time to look into a situation before I, again, respond, because obviously I do not want to be giving false information or to a parent or a student, in that particular situation. Parents are going to be part of the job, no matter what position I jump into. These conversations oftentimes are never easy. So understanding, obviously, that's going to come with the territory, and to not stress when you have to deal with those situations. A lot of times it's just parents just want to be heard in my time with coaching and teaching. And it could be a situation where their child just honestly doesn't know how to deal with adversity, and they might just be actually calling to sit with you to gain your perspective of the situation and how they can better help their child. And in the same realm, it might be a situation where you as the leader or the administrator might have to step in and say, hey, this is a teaching moment for your child. And we work on different avenues and things to help the situation. Obviously, I've had a lot of experience with it. Some have gone well, some have not. Obviously, you're never going to be 100% positive in any of these situations, but something that I've learned is let the parents speak first before you respond. And sometimes it's even a potential miscommunication or a misunderstanding, and you're just kind of there to help alleviate those misunderstandings and that misinformation. All right, next question. As you reflect on the principles and the leaders that you have known, what characteristics would you hope to emulate, and what characteristics would you hope to avoid? So, emulate compassion. You have to understand your staff are human beings. They're going to make mistakes. They have lives outside of school. And you need to put yourself back into their shoes because I am a teacher, I am a coach. And if I do move into a leadership or an administrative role, whether it's a principal, assistant principal, athletic director, I have to remember I was that person. I might still be that person if I'm still coaching and teaching. Excuse me. Um, Make sure that I have built those relationships with everyone as best as I possibly can. So when you take the time to build those relationships with your staff, obviously that respect is going to be there, and it's going to be reciprocated and generated both ways. You When you have that relationship built, you're potentially, if you are put into those situations where you have to say no to a staff member, that they can respect that and they can understand that. Honest and constructive feedback. When you say, uh, or when, let's say I tell someone, hey, you've done a good job, or you have things that you need to work on, I need to provide examples and give that constructive feedback. Sometimes it might be hard feedback to give, and being able to relay it in a way that is going to be the most conducive for your staff, because at the end of the day you do want them to be better. You're not here to demean them or make them feel bad. Your job is then to make them the best that they possibly can be, because that reflects on me as a person, that reflects on my leadership. And if that's me, and if I don't do that, I'm not doing my job. I We're all in the same boat, and I need everybody on the same page. So providing that honest and constructive feedback, as well as giving the feedback, and hey, I'm going to set you up with a teacher that I would like for you to go observe. And so you can use and take away some of those aspects of what this particular teacher does. And we can then meet again and talk about how we can use the things that you observed and saw, and implement those into your classroom. Supporting all groups. That's every sport, every club, every organization, band, choir. You have to be there. You have to be seen. You can't just sit in your office all day. And lastly, backing your teachers. They have to know that you support them and you have their back in any situation, and you're not just going to sit there and point the finger and say fix it without any help. Things that I want to avoid: never being seen. I kind of touched upon it already. Always in your office, have your door shut. You're not attending school functions. You're not even greeting your students when they enter the building or when they leave, or being seen in the hallway during passing periods. Never being involved in conflict situations. I've already said this. Pointing the finger and said, "You need to fix this now, or else." Putting blame without consulting the teacher, or providing feedback. So again, you might have a situation where a parent calls in and they're upset about something. Immediately siding with the parent before you even pull the teacher in and get the background and get more information from the teacher on that particular situation. And lastly, avoiding not being able to regulate your emotions around your staff. I get it, everyone's going to have a bad day, but you cannot take out your frustrations of, let's say, a meeting or a phone call that you just got done with, and you have a teacher that then came in because they're having a behavior management, let's say, situation with the student, and you have to keep your emotions in check. You can't be yelling at teachers, screaming at teachers, demeaning teachers just because you're having a bad day, or you have an outside situation or a different situation that is impacting you. I know it can be hard, but being have to keep those things in check. What else should we know about you that will help us determine your success in the program? I understand what it means to have hundreds of people counting on me every day and every school year. And it does not matter if I'm having a bad day, I don't feel good, anything like that. I have to show up, and I do. Being a full time teacher with two content preps, I'm the government curriculum professional development leader. So I'm the government representative for high schools that help each other facilitate the government curriculum, collect data, are needed for the high school government curriculum for all four high schools in Plainfield. I'm the head varsity girls soccer coach at Plainfield North. Aside from just being the varsity girls soccer coach, obviously my job is running the soccer program where I am in charge of 3 to 4 teams, as well as helping be a mentor to our assistant coaches as well. Um, I am actually currently the assistant women's soccer coach here at the University of St. Francis. And previously I have been an assistant athletic director at a Catholic middle school that I taught at the middle school for 6 years, and I was the teaching full time as well as the assistant athletic director for 3 years. So with all of those experiences and leadership positions that I currently am in and in the past, like I've said before, I truly understand what it means to have hundreds of people that are counting on me to be at my best every day. And I have no off days. I don't have time to not know something or not be fully invested and well versed in understanding in anything. So I have to be on top of my game every day. I never go into anything without giving like I said, my full attention and effort. I'm always asking questions to further my understanding of any type of situations. I go watch other teachers, I go watch other coaches, and uh, to help with research, to help with planning, and to help and asking them on different types of situations and how they dealt with them, so I can personally have different things in my pocket, in my repertoire, to be able to deal with whatever situation arises. I know that I do have a lot of things that I need to learn, but for me, I best learn when I'm in the field, when I'm in the trenches, when I'm working and doing this job every day. And it's the same way with student teaching. We took the amount of coursework and took the tests and did everything that we needed to do, but truly, I didn't understand what it meant to be a teacher, a good teacher, until I was in the thick of it and working through it and failing and reflecting and talking with others for a couple years. In some ways, obviously, being an administrator will be similar. I don't want to say it's going to be exactly the same, but um, just running and managing your own school building instead of, let's say, with me, 150 students during a school year or a semester. I could have anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 students, 250 to 300 teachers and staff or more, and obviously thousands of parents. So, taking what I've learned being a teacher and in these small leadership positions that I have had, and just adapting them to an administrative position is a challenge that I'm excited, and I know it's going to take some time, but like I said, I'm excited to jump into this new chapter and this new challenge. Thank you again for your time and listening to my interview. I appreciate that very much.